I'm Trek with 2Ks. Alrighty then. Hola, buenos noches, buenos tardes, GnGs. My name is Trek with 2Ks, and this is another Monday of Trek with 2K Live. And yeah, I got some things to get into. I don't know why I always be forgetting to like take the dog tags off before I get by the mic, because the mic is mad sensitive. But nonetheless, dog tags are off. We got some stories to get into, some things that scratch my brain. If they scratch your brain, cool. If you differ from what I'm taking uh, as my understanding or like question about whatever these posts are that end up going over in Twitter. And don't forget, I have my tangents because I'm at this unk stage right now and being in this space. Um, cool. I appreciate the folks who are tapping in. That's the lurkers. That's the folks who've been down with the gentleman of crypto for a minute. That's the folks who've been knowing me for a while. Even if we haven't met in person, still, it's a cool thing to still be able to crack the mic and at least have one or two people be like, oh, yeah, I know that guy. I don't know. That's just me and my little small ego and pride, I guess. Other thing to note, if you don't know, the basic idea is I go over Twitter posts that I try to bookmark like, X amount of days out. But when you get to that level of like, if I do 3 days out, if y'all don't know how Twitter work, you got pretty much 24-hour, postings. So me trying to look at postings that happened during the middle of the week, I would have a crazy number if I was trying to do it from like Wednesday or like Thursday to now, especially considering you have stuff literally being posted every minute, every couple of minutes. Hence the let me just wait until I'm a little bit closer to Monday if I don't do it Monday itself, right? And X amount of the times, depending on who you follow on Twitter, it's just stuff repeating, right? So if you follow like the the big thinker person that always gets quoted in one of the news platforms, it's either you go to the news platform for the condensed version of what they say, or you follow the person who actually the news platform is quoting. Pick your source, or you might want to take both of them, because sometimes the news platform don't actually give the full quote of what the person said, or they give a spin on what the person said, right? So the person or the entity, because you also got to remember there are companies on Twitter now, right? Well, companies been on here for like how long now, right? But it's not a new thing. So you got to take that into account. But I should also add, like, I did a thing today. I'm gonna say judge me, because I know I would judge somebody else if they told me this shit too. I don't know if to say I caved in, but I'm gonna say I'm experimenting. I'm experimenting on the end of I'm putting up the money to pay for the premium, because the way that we use the streaming setup is through Restream. And now, because of what Elon did, and I'm gonna get into something that Elon is also about to introduce, we'll see, where before we used to be able to just stream automatically to our Twitter accounts. And then once they changed the revenue model or added in a new revenue model, and they did some other thing today that I just noticed today that I didn't, for whatever reason, notice until today. But I did the premium, y'all. I don't know if it means I'm gonna get the blue check. I really don't care about the blue check. It's the blue check is not the point of this experiment right now. The point of this experiment is that I wanted to be able to go back to streaming on Twitter. And so that's why I caved in, and we'll, test it out for the next couple of months and see how this works out. I don't know just yet. As I said to y'all a while ago, for those who've been paying attention for a bit, like, I kind of stepped away from a lot of the social media stuff. I kind of stepped away hard on the crypto side of things, and I'm like inching my way back in to, like, look at Twitter a little bit more, pay a little bit more attention to, like, some of these stories coming out as they relate to blockchain or the crypto space in general. And so the goal here is to see, like, is this $8 a month worth, um, doing, in addition to Twitch, the Gentleman of Crypto YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, also going back to being able to stream on Twitter, aka X. We'll find out in a couple of months. Like, if I see the numbers moving a certain way, then I guess the $8 is gonna be worth it. I'm kind of annoyed though how they did it, where you got like the basic setup where it's like, well, you're still gonna get ads, but like you could post a little bit more and you'll get like a little step tier above the free version of Grok. Which also, I learned the new thing that you could do with Grok today that I didn't know before, because I wasn't clicking as many buttons as I did earlier today. I'm gonna get into that too. And then the other part of this premium thing is like, well, you'll have less ads. But let me jump into the thing that pissed me off actually today, that I realized that X did, where they ran with the Facebook model or the Instagram model. Facebook, Instagram, same thing, where it's like, well, if you want people to see your post, you should join the premium, because then you'll get the boost, which is crazy, because it's like, wait, so you're telling me the people that chose to follow me, I gotta now pay to have them see the post? Like, kind of crazy. I didn't want to do it on Facebook. I didn't want to do it on what you call it, on Instagram. And yeah, like I said, experimentation in regards to me kind of kowtowing right now for doing it on Twitter, but it wasn't for the having the reach of post, or bringing my post back to like regular viewing. It was about being able to stream, because you can't stream now with only, what is it, it's premium and premium plus. You can't stream the way that I'm using it on basic. So we're gonna see how this play out for the next couple of months. Still kind of annoyed that they chose to run that Instagram model as far as the revenue thing, but it is what it is. Also interesting thing to note, which I'm gonna bring up right now, as the first post. So let's jump into this one, which, good segue, I guess, to say. Elon is talking about launching a XChat messaging system with Bitcoin style encryption. I'm not 100% certain on what the Bitcoin style encryption is supposed to mean, as far as like, are we using SHA 256? If that's what it is, just say it's 256. I don't get why Watcher Guru did this like general reference thing. But as far as the thing of like the X chat, like, do we really need another chatting medium? Like, do we really need, hey, what's going on, Jump Out Girls? Good to see you. That's the Content Cousins right there. Definitely check out their stuff. But like, do we really need another, and then like, do we really need another messaging medium? And more than likely, if you're saying that that has the encryption on it, then what does the regular DM stuff on Twitter have? Nothing, something, half of something. And is it, and when we say Bitcoin style encryption, does it mean that you still won't be able to like backdoor or like copy the information out, or just tap in and read certain things when you want to? Because at the end of the day, for how Twitter has grown, like it's an information source. And if people are using that as a communication medium, there is no way in hell the for the data mining that is being done on this platform that I would see this just being like 100% pro privacy, pro encryption to the fullest extent. Like, no way. It doesn't make sense for how our communication mediums within the Big Brother American environment works. The Five Eyes thing. It just don't make sense. But that's just my thought process. Y'all could totally disagree with me if you want to. Just wanted to throw that one out there, see what folks are taking on that. So here's this other one that came across my attention today too. Hong Kong's Reader Lawcheck announces plans to acquire 1.5 billion in Bitcoin. So, in case you haven't been paying attention or you didn't know, apparently the signal got put out like the last 5 days because the number of posts that I seen covering the like this business or this institution or the financial entities, banking institutions, other types of financial institutions, like the bat signal went out because the amount of posts I saw before getting on live today that just had some kind of connection to that realm of, hey, Bitcoin is the goal, the race is on. I'm gonna jump into a story, as you see in the title, about Jack Mahler, and I'm kind of wondering, like, are we upscaling the grift? I'm gonna get into that in a minute though. But like it's I don't know what bat signal went out today or in the last like 72 hours, but whatever it was, like a lot of these news sources, or not news sources, well, yeah, news sources and the fervor being generated around it is popping in this last 72 hours. I don't know what happened, but that's what I noted. Case in point again, this situation happened right here with Reader Logic, which is, hold on, let me find the tab that I had that was talking about it. I'm gonna get into it. No, it's not that one. Yeah, so this one, right? Oh, so this is the thing that I found out that you could do with Grok today. Where the post is, there's a little icon thing for Grok, and then it's like, oh, we'll explain to you what this post means, right? And so I'm taking this into a tool of like, let's see, here's what the AI is saying based on the access of information that it has within the Twitter platform, and then like what other online things that it can go to. What I do wonder about this though, and it'll be more apparent in the Russia article that I cover, is how far back does Grok go for information? Does it go a week back? Does it go a month back? Does it go 5 years back? Like, because we know like ChatGTP and like DeepSeek and a number of the other LLMs, there is usually a time frame block for the information that they get fed as their base source, right? And granted, Grok works X amount a little bit different because it's like an always connected thing, and it has continual added posts put in to the Twitter platform, right? But I never actually dug into like, well, how does the information filtering work on Grok? Does it have a year cap or something? Is it only X amount of let's say posts related to a topic per day? Then you got to get into the other part of how much of the information is more biased in context and translation geared towards a Western or like an American audience, versus if I used Grok in Japan and asked a question about, well, what does this article mean? Does it have any cultural nuances to it that don't translate into the American context? If I ask this question in Hong Kong and I'm on Twitter asking this, do I get this same result that is right here? Right? Is there a geofencing aspect to the responses that Grok gives you. I don't know, but I'm just throwing this in there as a like, all right, let's compare this to like what the AI says and how the human also interprets it. That human being me, right? So Reader Logic Holding, a Hong Kong-based logistics and real estate tech firm, announced a 1.5 billion purchase to diversify its treasuries, reflecting a growing trend of institutional crypto adoption, as seen in 2024 Chainalysis Global Crypto Adoption Index, which notes increased Bitcoin activity in high-income regions like North America and Western Europe. Mind you, it okay. I'm perfect example in the first paragraph. If you've been listening to me for a minute, now you gotta remember I took off, what is that, X amount of 24, but I was doing the segment on Gentlemen of Crypto since like 22, right? If you've been following me from back then, and then you was following me before when I was doing my own little running around thing and when I was jumping in on the live streams, and I'm talking back in like 2020, 2019, I was saying for how long, like Hong Kong is going to be the sandbox, and it's going to move in a way where it is going to bring in a smorgasbord of financial instruments that will be the playground for the Asian region, right? That side of the world over there. And if you understand the whole thing about the what is it, the one China one policy thing, you know that like Hong Kong is China. That's the gateway into the mainland for X number of financial things, as well as the exit. But that's a whole nother topic, right? But nonetheless, like the 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 point I want to make about the first paragraph is that why would it not mention the development that is going on within Southeast Asian region, considering it is a number of things happening. The ASEAN Accords just happened. And granted, it's not necessarily upfront crypto related stuff, but they definitely are in awareness of the digital currency side of how that bilateral, multilateral trade business stuff is going to work going down the road, right? That was a very big deal, but you don't hear nothing about that over this way, right? As to me, because of some of the things I pay attention to, it comes off as a like, might be a little bit West leaning. We put it in the first paragraph, right? Second paragraph, the move aligns with Hong Kong's progressive crypto regulations, including stablecoin laws passed in May 2025, which aim to provide legal clarity but impose high compliance costs, potentially challenging smaller firms while fostering long-term innovation, according to South China Morning Post, which is true. Like Hong Kong is 100% KYC. Hong Kong is 100 for all of the financial stuff going on. 100% KYC if you are upfront business. Hella work if you're trying to do some sideways shady business. And you definitely don't want to get caught by the mainland financial folks, because there will be hell to pay, right? And you don't want to be a foreigner who ends up in the legal process, like especially on the criminal side, in another country. Like I've never heard any good stories when you end up on that side of things. Just saying. Haven't heard any good stories. Last paragraph, appeal as a hedge against financial volatility is evident, with Bitcoin treasuries.net reporting 214 public and private entities, 5 driven by its centralized nature and historical 144% annualized return since 2013, per a 23 study by Pantera Capital. So if you just went off of what Grok just said, you would think that this was like a new development as far as like Hong Kong looking to move into the quote digital, really more the crypto financial market, right? But again, if you've been following me for a minute, you've been following, King, you've been looking at like Black Ruin, a couple other folks in this network, as well as other folks outside of, the Gentleman of Crypto thing. Like, we've been talking about this for years. We've been talking about Asia's been making moves for a minute now. But yet, if you look at it based on how it's being presented through Twitter via Grok, you would think this was a recent development. I'm gonna give you another example of something. All right, so that's one joint down. Where's the other? Is this the other one I wanted to jump into? Oh man, I'm way off. Okay, so it was that. So this joint actually kind of had me too. Genesis stablecoin bill may face a Senate vote as early as what is that? Early as this week. All right, we're gonna do this live with y'all, so y'all see what I'm seeing and how Grok understands what this Senate bill means and the bipartisan process to it. Oh, okay. So something that I just learned right now: when you have a unpaid account, it literally opens up the new window for Grok, and then it shows you that. It doesn't give you the sub window on the side. Didn't know that right now. All right, so reading into this, right? It says the Genesis stablecoin in the post aims to create a regulatory framework for stablecoins, mandating strict reserve requirements and consumer protections, which could legitimize their use and boost institutional adoption. All right, let's get through. I'm not going to go paragraph for paragraph, but jump through all of them, right? On May 2025, CNBC reported a report highlighted that the bill already passed a key Senate procedural vote with bipartisan support. 15 Democrats joined the Republicans, but Senator Josh Hawley, sorry for saying the name wrong, controversial rider capping credit card late fee risks, derailing final approval. Wow, really? That was the thing you chose to stand on? Interesting. The bill's urgency is understood by recent polls showing that 74% of U.S. voters support dedicated crypto legislation, reflecting a growing public demand for regulatory clarity and concerns over conflicts of interest, such as President Trump's family ties to the USD1 stablecoin backed by $2 billion Abu Dhabi investments. All right, so that is how Grok understands this post that I just brought up to you about the Genesis stablecoin bill. So let's how do we interpret this as far as being a human? Well, I think that X amount of the congressional folks are still trying to work out the kinks. If it doesn't make it this go around, it's still something of like who's working out the kinks for where they can benefit from this being brought into like full legal body status. Meaning they're still waiting on the financial backers and more of the Wall Street investor type folks to be like, okay, here's where we think this is good, here's where we think this is bad. This isn't about the regular like public voting body base. I think, am I saying that right? So this is not about that. This is not about us, like the regular public being like, oh yeah, this is great. Like, yes, we should do legislation that does blah, 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 blah. Like they're going to make legislation that has maybe one or two new aspects to it, but it'll still mirror traditional finance. So at the end of the day, guess what that means? And I'm going to jump into another post with Hester Pierce, right? So I imagine this thing about consumer protection only goes but so far, because if we was really talking about consumer protection, banks would not be allowed to withhold your funds from you. Banks would not be allowed to be able to tell you, hey, we lost your money and there's nothing you could do about it. If this was about consumer protection, the FBI would not be able to go into deposit boxes and raid a whole room and then have you have to go to court to prove that it's your stuff. If this was about consumer protection, mind you, this is the traditional, already been 100+ years old side of the financial institutions and banking. What do you think they will do with this new crypto digital side when they make the regulations, when they put this into effect? Like, put that in the context. If some of the things I just described to you is going on in the current state of the rules, regulations, and policies, the Dodd-Frank Act is what makes it legal for the bank to withhold your funds from you. The FBI raided deposit boxes, a whole room out in California. What was that, 2-3 years back? That court case is still going on now. What do you think this is really going to do as consumer protection? Just throwing that out there. It might not really be about consumer protection. How about that? Next story. What is this one? Why did I bookmark this? Oh yeah. Anybody messing with Bito Pro? It's a Taiwanese crypto exchange. They had a hack situation. Something you might be, for those who out there on the shitcoin trail and the meme coins and chasing the bag in that realm still. I don't know if y'all are on this, but that's the reason why I thought to tag this one. I'm not really too thing of this being like a long-term thing to pay attention to for me, only because hacks continually happen. This though, I did want to bring this up. Who remembers in 2020, what was that, 23 and the 24, where we got through that whole thing of like, because of what came out about the stable coins and X amount of the exchanges as for what their basket of reserves were, especially within the stable coin space. It was like, oh, well, now all of these exchanges have to go around proving the proof of reserves. Like, what are you holding? What's actually in your basket, right? Now, one of the things we've been saying on the channel for a minute, well, on the Gentleman of Crypto Network for a minute, is like, this doesn't really prove anything in regards to like, it isn't a what's the word I'm looking for? It is not a dynamic proof of the state of what exchanges or financial institutions are holding in real time, right? Case in point, this joint right here says that this is a timestamp of one particular moment, which stood at where was it at? 21st. Oh, dated snapshot was May 10th. So we already at the end of the month. I don't know when they actually put this out on OKX, but the point being is that May 10th, let's say, okay, let's put this in context of, let me try to work this through for the mental picture to a degree. Asia is ahead of the West by X amount of hours, right? So let's say they took the picture at let's say 8 a.m. No, you know what? Let's go 5 p.m. On the 10th of May, and it was in Japan, right? We're X amount of hours behind them, and I might be picking the wrong country as far as like the difference in time delay, but the point being is that by the time you end up seeing it, let's say in California, and I think it was just be coming into the morning time in California, or the East Coast might be a better example, like, New York or something. You're just seeing it. Now, by the time you seeing it as like, oh, well, they just posted this on Twitter, and Twitter is 24 hours. it doesn't mean that they didn't move stuff around, or it doesn't mean that a hack didn't happen at 5:01, 5:30 p.m., right? Like, so this whole thing of like proof of reserves is more about public sentiment, to be able to ease the public sentiment around the stuff that was going on at the time, which was like, it was X amount of more hackings. The hack numbers were getting crazy because they were in the hundreds of millions at that point. And then, you have people questioning like, well, what does this company really have? And then when you find out all of the inter swapping that was going on between X amount of the banks that were connected to the crypto space and the capital firms that were connected to the crypto space, it was like, well, who really has what? You don't really know. And that's the same thing that I'm saying about this. Like, yeah, it's kind of it's like, what is that? Best common practice now. But like, if you really understand and how to look at the transactions and how to look at the provenance of the chain, and like where things are moving and how they're moving in and out, like a snapshot from 20 days ago, 20 plus days ago, a number of things could have happened between then and now. So how valid is this? Just throwing that out there. Like, if you've been around in the space for a minute, like, it served a purpose. But for the folks who understand how it looks on and works on the back end, not to mention, you're not holding everything in one wallet. That's multiple wallets. You're not holding all of that Bitcoin in one wallet. You're not holding all of that ETH in one wallet. The same thing with the UST, the USDT, and the same thing with the USDC. Right? And how many of the stuff is used for the daily transaction stuff versus what's on the emergency side stuff? Now, granted, like, I don't know if everyone has their basket broken up that way, but there's definitely a setup for how you have what is used by the exchange as the regular day-to-day part of business, and then what they do as far as like how they push the profits and exit it out from easily being accessed in network. So we're using cold wallets and cold storage, stuff like that. Just saying, man. Like, you've been here for a minute, or you at least been paying attention to stuff. Yeah. Oh, this one got me too. Circle's now looking to do the IPO thing for the New York Stock Exchange, which in my mind, because it's 24 million Class A shares, 9.9 million from the company, and 14.4 million from existing shareholders, which is all private people. Now this is about to go public. The expected price range is between 20 and 26, with the stock under symbol CRLC. This is not, let us be very, very, very clear on this. This is not me telling y'all to go put your money anywhere. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a CPA. This is just me letting y'all know that, like, Circle is going public. And in my mind, what that means is the major investors are probably exiting from the platform, because now they're about to put access to be a financial participant in the platform. They're putting out to the general public. So think about that. In like another 6 months, maybe up to 15 months, more like 12 months, Circle as a ticker is going to be on Robinhood. That's the pajama traders right there. Like, no matter what they tell you about that whole Robinhood Gold, pay $5, that's still the pajama trader crowd, yo. That's still the pajama traders. Okay, just because they charging you for a upper tier thing does not mean you still on the same level as the folks who are like the actual investors behind Robinhood and who are connected to Citadel. Like, it is levels to it. I'm just throwing that out there. That's just my thought process. I'm not saying you might not be able to make a bag. It's just, I look at it and it's just like, oh wow, like so now they opened it to the public. So like the folks who made the bag, they moving on to whatever the next thing is. And you know, this will probably work out for like this administration. It probably won't really. You know what? I ain't gonna do no price talk on it. This is King's Lane. Hopefully King touch on this and like give y'all a better outlook than what I could do, because I've been telling y'all for how long now. I'm not the price talk guy. I sucked at trading, hence why I don't do the shit no more. What was the other one? All right, I did that. No, gotta take that one off. Dude right here, Willy Woo, right? I seen the post and I was like, huh, that's interesting. So I don't know who Willy Woo is. I just seen the post and I thought it was interesting for what he was saying. So basically, the post says, my long-term target for BTC price is not dollars as it continues to be debased. My target is world GDP / 21 million, give or take plus or negative 50%. We'll take a good part of 2 decades to get there. So what is this guy saying? Actually, wait, where did I do it? Oh, that's why it's doing that. All right, I was on the wrong one. Where'd you go? Where did you go? Okay, Willy Woo. Bet. Willy Woo. Yep, here it is. So earlier, this is the interpretation that Grok came up with. Willy Woo Post proposes valuing BTC not in devaluing USD, but as a ratio of the world GDP to Bitcoin fixed 21 million coin supply, projecting a price target of around 9.5 million to 20 million per BTC in 20 years, factoring in GDP growth and USD debasement. The perspective aligns with a growing financial shift towards viewing cryptocurrencies as a global store of value, challenging traditional fiat-based metrics as inflation erodes purchasing power. World GDP in 2025 is estimated to be at 1.10 trillion, potentially rising to 425 trillion in 2 decades, with 7% annual growth. Woo's target includes 50% of a margin of error, reflecting uncertainty in long-term economic forecasts, but it echoes sentiments like figures like Michael Slayer, who estimate BTC could capture half of global assets value, potentially reaching 13 million per coin. Honestly, I don't know about none of that long run, like 13 million per coin part. What I do know for why this captured my attention is depending on what you were paying attention to within the global setting, meaning things about like the ASEAN Accords, what's going on with the BRICS, what's going on with what was the other thing? What other countries such as, you know, China and Russia or the UAE, what they're doing in terms of their moves around BTC, right? And and it's not a technology grab or race. It is definitely a monetary grab / race that's going on right now. So on the international scale, the US dollar is in this weird place right now where, because of what our foreign policy is, countries are looking for ways to not hold the money that they were initially holding, as well as finding ways to not have to deal with acquiring dollars to reinvest in the American market. And when I say reinvest, I mean in terms of like X amount of the hedge funds, and not hedge funds, the what's the things, the the startups and like the tech industry and all that stuff, there's a lot of foreign entities that use USD to invest in these things. And so the way it's working now, as far as like how our dollar is the predominant evaluation of things within the world, because of the things going on with our foreign policy, countries and global finance institutions are going, we don't know if this dollar thing is going to be the way to keep going. So in that regards, it doesn't seem like we're going to be the hegemony in a decade, in 2 decades for sure. Like, to the dude's point, I definitely don't see us being the United States, us being the collective states. I don't see us being in the same position that we was in. And when I say we, I mean more so the government, because like we as the regular everyday person, we wasn't running around to different countries over here telling their governments what to do, right? But those folks that we voted into certain positions, that's what they was doing. And I was telling a coworker this the other day because they were saying something. I was like, yeah, but like you talking like this is still the 2000s, or this is like still 2010, or this is like 1995. And again, I said the same thing. Like, for the things that I'm paying attention to, that's not where we are. And so to this point, and I bookmarked this because I definitely want to try to hold on and remember this one and see how this looks, a couple years down the road. There was a post I did earlier of a guy talking with, he was doing an interview on something, and this is like, I think from the 70s or early 70s or the late 60s or something. And he's saying like there's going to be a day when people will use phones to do blah, blah, blah. And I had to repost it. I'm like, well, this aged well. And they put it in color. So it's like the guy talking with the other guy in the interview thing and the little kid in the middle just looking like, oh, wow, okay, shaking his head. But it's like, yeah, it might take a minute, but it doesn't mean it can't happen or it won't happen. Remember, like, Rome didn't just collapse in one day. Like, England didn't just collapse in one day as the quote world power, right? It happened over time. Like, if there's one thing that history continually shows us about cities, societies, cultures, governments, like there's a cycle to them. There's a shelf life to them. Sometimes it might be 3-4 generations. Another time it might be 100 and something years, 200-300 and something years. But there's a cycle. There's a shelf life to it. At some point, it transitions into something else. It loses, or it has to move from the prestigious standing or position that it had in comparison to like other entities or things at that same peer level, where it might go up, it might go down, right? Case in point, Rome went up, but I'll give you another example. Egypt was up there for a minute, right? um the Benin Kingdom was up there for a minute. If you know anything about African stuff, right? It was up there for a minute. They went down. Kemet, Egypt, that grouping was up there for a long ass time, and then eventually they went down. And I'm not tickling like a couple hundred years. That was like a couple thousand years. If you actually know how long the timeline of Kemet is, it's not a couple hundred years. It's not like 200, 300 years. It's a good chunk of time. But nonetheless, the point being is, I think this has some gravity to it as a post. Time is going to tell us how it actually looks down the road. And 2 decades is one generation. So you got kids being born right now where when they reach 5 and when they reach the age of 10, Bitcoin is going to be an established thing one way or the other. I don't know what other cryptocurrencies will be in the mix with it, but it will be they will be an established thing, right? And that is what they will know as an everyday thing. Case in point, like how my nieces and nephews in this day and age, smartphones is just an established thing for them. That is a thing that has always been in their environment. They don't know about rotary phones. They don't know about flip phones. They don't know about the game of string and telephone. Like that's just like a wait, what? Like, so you mean to tell me you had a phone that you could only just call people? You can't play games on it? You can't take pictures? That is totally foreign to them. So case in point, you have your kids now who in 5-10 years, to them, is going to be very foreign to be like, oh, so you just can't instantly send it and like know that it went over there. Like you can't do a micro trade, like just swiping your finger or just saying yes, buy. That's wild. Wait, so you actually had to like type into a keyboard and like wait, and they charged you for it? It's gonna be a whole different environment. Let me get into another post actually too that gets into something else. All right, let me jump into this Jack Mallers thing. So I'm gonna be honest. When the first joint came out about this, I brought this up. He's not talking about self-custody. He's not talking about financial sovereignty. He's not talking about economic sovereignty. He's talking about being able to invest in a financial instrument that is, quote, connected to Bitcoin. What he is telling people that they can invest in is a derivative product. It is an IOU product of Bitcoin. And I said it then, and we're going to see how this play out now. Well, not now, but we're going to see how this play out in a couple, I think, what was that, early this year? I think I had covered this when it got announced. So let's say I'm going to still hold the same timeline. No more than 5 years down the road, either this company gets sold off to one of the other big boys and girls, or it closes out. One of the two things happen. Either, again, it closes out, or it gets bought out by somebody else. Does that make him a grifter? By some measurements, yeah, because you really didn't push the core ethos of Bitcoin. But does that even matter in this day and age right now? I don't know. Some days I really be wondering, y'all. Deadass, I really be wondering. I'm gonna leave it on that one. Is Mallers is he grifting? Is he grifting? Somebody gonna remember I said this. 5 years max. Is he still gonna be the one sitting at the head of this company, or is it gonna get bought out? All right, so this is everyone's. I'm not even gonna say it. Basically, Hester Pierce went on CNBC and basically said that every bank and financial institution can now offer Bitcoin services, right? And remember what I said earlier about how it's going to be that transition of the Genesis regulation thing about the stable coins. Same thing is going to play with the like cryptocurrency stuff, right? Part of me as I wet my whistle real quick. Oh man, yo, if anybody know about Stones, Jamaican, well, I believe it's produced in Jamaica. If you got island folks around you, Stones, it's a green bottle, green label. I did not know it's 14.4% alcohol. But if you like ginger, it's a good wine thing to drink. But nonetheless, so Hester Pierce is out here saying like, oh yeah, so basically we're going to have a good base model of where all of the financial institutions can now offer services to have better um, institutional friendliness as far as regulatory framework and offer better protections to the public. Remember what I said at the top of this. If the FBI was able to go into a bank and raid all of the cash deposit boxes, even though they only had a warrant for one, I think it was like one or two boxes, they took the whole room. If the IRS is able to look at your financial transactions because they're doing an investigation on you, and then they see that you were doing a financial transaction with me through your bank, they can then investigate me and freeze my accounts and not tell me that I'm being investigated or what's going on that's making my accounts be frozen. And the bank doesn't have to tell me either, right? If the bank under the Dodd-Frank Act can withhold your funds from you, if the FDIC can get wiped out by just Bank of America going under, which means if you had, let's say, 100,000 in the bank, because you're not a major shareholder in the bank, you do not have high priority. It is at, I don't want to say at the bank's discretion, but it is based on the bank's ability to get back to making you not whole, where they're like, all right, well, here's 100,000, because the bank isn't going to do it. The bank doesn't have the money for whatever reason. Let's say the money gets wiped out of the bank somehow. Bank goes under. Everyone's going to look to the FDIC. But again, it only takes one financial institution to wipe out all of the funding that the FDIC has. If this is the current state of the financial protections that we have under the SEC, that we have under FinCEN, that we have under the DOJ, that we have under the other entities and bodies that are financial regulators and policing agencies or bodies. What do you think they're going to do when they get the crypto regulatory stuff squared away, quote, and tell you, well, no, you got to go through us in order to get crypto. Oh no, you gotta let us control your wallet. How do you think that's gonna look in a decade, in 2 decades down the road? Like, it's not gonna be, I would argue, I would argue, we're going to have the same problems in in the crypto financial realm when we get into the full swing of financial institutions being the gate guard and middleman the way that they are in the traditional financial fiat world. We're going to have the same issues. Why? Because bureaucrats and regulators, the people that we vote for, quote, aren't putting in regulations and protections that are meant to actually encourage, protect, or enforce economic sovereignty for you as the individual, financial privacy or digital sovereignty for you as the individual. That's not what any of them are actually putting into place. And I'm still stand on the same thing that I've been saying for how long now. You can't go to the warden of the prison and be like, hey, man, let me get some more room and some more free time. I want to do blah, blah, blah in my cell during this period and this period. Like, no, that's not how that work. I'm still holding on to the same thing. Which one was it? All right, bet. I'm on the last one. Great. I'm nearly Is it gonna do it? All right. So this joint right here, Russia's largest bank, Suburb Bank, launches structured bonds linked to Bitcoin. So basically, they're buying up Bitcoin on the open market, and they're going to use bonds as a derivative product for vetted investors. You have to be of a certain economic status in order to be able to have access to these bonds. Now, if you go off of, did I do this one? I don't remember. Nope, not that one. Crypto journalist. Nope, wasn't this one. Come on. Nope. All right, never mind. I didn't do it. But nonetheless, the point being is, if you go off of how this is broken down on Twitter, it makes you think that Russia or the server bank just got into crypto like a couple months ago. Again, if you've been following me from back when, I've been talking about this for years at this point. This was before C19. I've been talking about the legislation and how they were changing their legislation for their central bank and the minor banks. They were changing the regulations around stuff back then. So this is before 2021. And it was a slow creep, for sure. It was a slow creep. But you know, the irony of it is what made it like accelerate was the US. The US and what we were doing with sanctions in the early part, right before they jumped into the Ukraine situation. And then once that really got under full swing, that made stuff push even faster. That made the regulatory part of the space push faster. And they were experimenting in different ways on using the crypto as far as following what Venezuela was doing with the crypto for oil. Same thing was being experimented out that way. But you know, that's not the things people talk about. That's not the like the practicality of crypto as a medium of exchange was being done all around us. And not just on the peer-to-peer individual, you and me, regular average Joe Schmo level. It was going on at nation state level. But that's not the stuff that makes the headlines, even though arguably in terms of financial technology or like economic developments as well as financial developments, that's a big deal. But the way it was being spun over here in the West was like, oh, Russia's avoiding American sanctions, blah 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 blah. And you know, for whoever jumps on the bandwagon on that one, you know, you do what you do, right? But you got to understand that like this is the part that like kind of gets me on how you have this double natured development of where, because the technology is open to any person, entity, individual, government, you know, bad actor, good actor, the adoption happens regardless because of varying situations. But the irony of it is, and I've been saying this for a while too, Russia's whole setup is 100% pro KYC. It's 100% know your customer. It's 100% transportation laws. So even though we make this argument over here in the West about how there's money laundering and there's you know, back deals and it's dark net and it's dark money and it's bad crypto and bad actors and like, yo, it somewhere it's KYC'd. Somewhere transportation compliance is in there because X amount of the stuff was going through their minor and major financial institutions. Somewhere in there, KYC was happening. But the way it got spun over here was Russians use dark money for dark oil, dark fleet, oil fleet, blah, blah, blah. Like, but if you don't know, like, if you don't dig into the the context of what's going on, if you only take the Western news source on it, I mean, that's your understanding, right? Because why would your government lie to you? Who does that? I don't know. Um, but yeah, so like this is a thing. This is happening. Again, like I was saying, like I don't know what bat signal went out over the last 72, like maybe four or 5 days, but like there was a number of posts that was centered around Bitcoin and what different entities, companies, and nation states were are proposing that they were doing or like have established, like, yeah, we are doing this. And this is an example of it. Then now, does that mean that like people still won't, go their way to get Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies outside of the central bank? It does not, because people are people, right? Like the same thing. Like you got to remember, like we argued this point about how blockchain allowed us to have a level of anonymity and anonymity, and you know what I'm saying, be anonymous. There we go. While at the same time giving a level of transparency um to being able to follow financial transactions, right? And that provenance of it. Hence why chain analysis does what it does, and it offers the financial analysis products that it does. The same thing with Coinbase. Big customers for them is FBI and a couple other letter folks. But at the same time, like, where was I going with this thought just now? Transparency. All right, y'all. I lost it. I lost it that damn fast. At the end of the day, we are witnessing blockchain technology in the use case of financial of cryptographically based financial instruments reach adoption into the world via the major or major tiered countries, meaning first tier countries that have more established economic systems, economic markets, as well as governmental framework, a regulatory framework. So the developments that you see in a place like the UAE and Russia versus what you see in some place like Peru or in Botswana, um, the scaling is different, the rate of adoption is different, the use cases as far as it being a store of value versus a a medium of exchange is different, because those environments and the stages that they're at are different. But it doesn't mean that there can't be more than one use case. It doesn't mean that you can only have access to the technology that allows for this product to be like to give you access to use this product in a way that works for the environment that you're in. That's the bottom line. Like, that is arguably the beautiful part about Bitcoin's blockchain in particular, in comparison to some of the other blockchains. And I'm gonna leave it on that one, y'all. Yeah, I feel like this went okay. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what is going on with the chat, because like the way I'm looking at the numbers, I'm seeing it at above 20 as far as views, but I also know there's a funny way that YouTube counts the view thing. So I don't know. And like I said, I'm doing Twitter, what is it? Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. And I'm doing 2 channels on YouTube right now, because it's my actual channel and it's Gentleman of Crypto channel. And so I will throw this out there, give a like, thumbs up, share, and all that fun stuff. What do they call it? The call to action. I would appreciate for the different things that I'm on, and if you got anything interesting between Twitter and the YouTubes, tag me. Depending on what it is, as long as it ain't like flat out price talk and you name it some kind of crazy shit coin or meme coin, I'll look, and if it scratches my brain, then I'll bring it up. But if not, I'll just say thank you for sharing. It's just not my cup of tea. Other than that, as I say though, from one human to the next, I wish you to be in a good place, in a safe space, and in good company. And that is the best that I can wish from one human to the next. And yeah, it's a Monday. Hopefully you had a productive over busy day. And hopefully that is how your week will continue. And yeah, that's all I got for y'all today, man. Like I said, I appreciate the folks who tapped in. I appreciate. And I'm closing it out. And I'm closing it out. There you go. And there. I'm Trek with 2 Ks.